Welcome to Culinary Confoes, the podcast where we dish out the juiciest detail about the world's most famous chefs. I'm your host, Rido, and today we're diving into the fiery world of Gordon Ramsay. We've got four guests joining us to share their thoughts and experiences. Let's meet them. First up, we have Albert, a culinary student.
Hi Rido, thanks for having me. I'm a huge fan of his Ramsay techniques.
Great to have you. Next, we have Shayla, a food critic.
Hello everyone! I've had the pleasure of reviewing several of Ramsay restaurants.
Wonderful. Michael, you're up.
Hey there, I'm a home cook who's learned a lot from Ramsay's shows.
And last but not least, Avril, a former contestant on one of Gordon's shows.
Hi Liza, excited to share my first-hand experience with the chef himself.
Fantastic. Let's start with Gordon Ramsay background. Alba, as a culinary student, what can you tell us about Ramsay's early career?
Well, Rido, it's quite inspiring. Ramsay actually started out playing football for Glasgow Rangers, but an injury ended that career. He then went back to college to study hotel management. His culinary journey really took off when he moved to London and started working under Marco Pierre White at Harvey's.
That's right, and it's worth noting that Ramsay worked over some of the best chefs in the world during his training. After Marco White, he worked with Albert Brooks and later in France with Kai Sabo and Charles Rebution.
Impressive start. Michael, as someone who's learned from watching Ramsay, what do you think sets him apart as a chef?
I'd say it's his attention to detail and his passion. When you watch him cook, you can see how much he cares about every single element of the dish. He's also great at explaining techniques in a way that home cooks like me can understand and replicate.
I can attest to that passion firsthand. When I was on his show, he was incredibly intense, but you could tell it all came from a place of wanting to push us to be our best.
Speaking of his shows, Gordon Ramsay has become one as a famous for his TV presence as for his cooking. Sheila, as a food critic, what's your take on his media persona versus his culinary skills?
It's an interesting balance. His very temper and colorful language and show like Hell's Kitchen and Kitchen Nightmares have certainly made him a household name. But it's important to remember that behind all that drama is a chef with incredible skill and multiple Michelin stars to his name.
Absolutely. In the culinary world, he is respected not just for his cooking, but for his ability to run successful restaurants. Restaurant Gordon Ramsay in Chelsea has held 3 Michelin stars since 2001, which is no small feat.
Avril, you've seen the TV Garden up close. How does it compare to his off-camera personality?
You know, he definitely plays up the anger for the camera, but the passion is 100% real. Off camera, he was actually quite supportive and even funny. He genuinely wanted us all to improve and success.
I've noticed that softer side in some of his newer shows like Uncharted and Gordon, Gino and Fred Road Trips. He seems more relaxed and you get to see his love for food and culture.
That's a great point, Michael. Gordon has certainly diversified his TV presence over the years. Albert, as a culinary student, how was Gordon Ramsay influenced the next generation of chefs?
He has a huge impact. His emphasis on fresh, high-quality ingredients and perfecting classic technique has really shaped in culinary education. Plus, his success has shown many of us that a career in cooking can lead to incredible opportunities beyond just working in a kitchen.
And added that he is also influenced how people think about dining out. His focus on the overall experience, not just the food, but his service and atmosphere has raised dinner's expectations.
Interesting perspective. Now, Gordon Ramsay isn't just known for his cooking and TV shows, but also for his colorful language. Michael, as a home cook, does this affect how you view him?
Honestly, I find it entertaining, but more importantly, behind the swearing is usually a valuable lesson about cooking or kitchen management. I've learned to look past the colorful language and focus on the knowledge he's sharing.
I can tell you, being on the receiving end of one of his runs is an experience. But Heikel's right. There is always a point to it. He's not just yelling for the sake of it.
Now, for a bit of fun, What's your favorite Gordon Ramsay moment or recipe? Omar, why don't you start us off?
Oh, it's gotta be his beef Wellington. It's such a technical dish, and the way he breaks down the process make it seem achievable, even for less experienced cooks.
For me, it's not so much a specific recipe, but I love when he tells his round the world cooking challenge. Seeing him adapt to local ingredients and techniques really showcases his skill and creativity.
I'm a big fan of his scrambled eggs technique. I mean, like, it's such a simple dish, but his method really elevates it to another level.
My favorite moment was actually when he praised my dish on the show. After all the stress and hard work, hearing Gordon Ramsay say he'd be happy to serve my food in his restaurant was just incredible.
Those are all great. Before we wrap up though, I have one last question. If you could ask Gordon Ramsay one thing, what would it be? Sheila, let's start with you.
I love to know what he's thinking is the next big trend in the culinary world. As a food critic, I'm always curious about where top chefs think the industry is heading.
I would ask him for his top tip for home cooks who want to elevate their cooking.
I'd be really interested in hearing about the time he failed in the kitchen and what he learned from it.
I'd probably ask for him for his best advice on handling pressure in the kitchen. After my experience on his show, I could still use some tips.
Those are all fantastic questions. Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode of Culinary Confoes though. We barely scratched the surface of Gordon Ramsay's complex and fascinating career. Thanks to our guests Hamar, Sheila, Haikal, and Afril for sharing their insights and experiences. Remember listeners, whether you love him or hate him, there's no denying Gordon Ramsay's impact on the culinary world. Why not try cooking one of his recipes this way? You might just discover your inner self. Until next time, this is Ridho signing off. Stay passionate and may all your meals be delicious.